What black market did kids at your school run? When I was in the 6th grade, a teacher sold candy in between classes at marked up rates. A student decided to undercut her. That put an end to all candy sales. I would buy 6 packs of soda for $1.79 and refill the 6 sodas for a total of $3. These little game coupons that our teacher gave out for winning class quiz games. Right when people were starting to get scanners/printers in their own homes, some kid made copies of his coupons and sold or traded them to other students. Edit. Since I have some people asking what the coupons could be traded for, it was usually a piece of candy or a pencil with a fun print or something similar. I think the kids ended up getting caught like 2 weeks into the scheme. The only guy in the school whose family had proper TV channels used to tape wrestling events and rent them out. MP3s and CDRs were just becoming available. A guy I knew made a killing on mixed CDs. Every week he circulated forms to fill out where you selected the songs you wanted on the CD. The newest hits were on the top and changed weekly. The rest of his library filled the rest of the form, and there was a space for requests. He'd deliver your disc the following week. He seriously made bank for a couple years until everybody started getting their own songs from LimeWire or whatever. I don't know what he's doing now, 20 years later, but I don't doubt he's successful. Edit. Just as a bit of an aside, since a few responses have mentioned LimeWire, when this guy started doing it in HS, the only real avenues for music sharing were Usenet groups and Ike. Nintendo games. Some kid sold them off for like 10 or 15 bucks a pop. I don't know where he got them from, but he said he just told his dad what he wanted, and his dad would get it for him. He'd ask for the same ones over and over, and it didn't matter. He'd end up with 5 copies and he'd just sell 4 of them. Either the kid was the most spoiled brat in history, or his dad was straight up stealing them anyhow. Anyways, I could never get any. I had a Sega, but I remember that kid making a killing in grade 3. This girl Danielle convinced my best friend and I, along with some other people, that she could forever change the taste of saliva in our mouth, so that our saliva would taste like watermelon, cotton candy, bubble gum, etc. forever. She made us wait a couple days so we could really think about what flavor we wanted in our mouth forever. For example, she would tell us, "Are you sure you always want everything you eat to have a hint of watermelon?" Anyways, after a couple days and we picked a flavor, she charged us money. I can't remember how much, but it was probably $0.50 or something. She made us chew on all this crazy stuff like paper clips, erasers, and other things. Obviously our saliva never changed flavor and she stopped this. But I worked at Starbucks a couple years ago in my hometown and she came in and didn't even recognize me, and all I could think about was how that girl had me chewing on paper clips. I had the principal's secretary's handwriting down and used to sell hall passes for $1 each. Made a killing. Edit. I don't really know how much I made, but it was in the realm of $5 a day. Sometimes I went dry because you needed the actual pass paper, but I finally figured out how to get into the supply closet, slide the student in by the latch bolt. I only took a few pads at a time, so they wouldn't get suspicious. Edit 2. I could also forge my mother's signature. Did it so well that when I brought in a note from her that she scribbled on the dash, they called her to confirm. Cuban sandwiches straight out a duffel bag before school. They were bomb, cheap and way better than the lunch in the cafeteria. In high school, this guy sold socks in the hallways. A kid in my school used to sell stupid amounts of porn tapes for $10. We found out later that his dad had paid for some porn channels and I guess he never noticed his son had them open in his room. He would buy empty tapes and just hit record until the tapes were full. I know I bought at least 10 of them. This was in the 90s. That guy was making a shit ton of money. He would bring a backpack full of tapes almost every day and leave school with it empty. Easily he was making $200 a day when he emptied his bag. Silly bands. I remember a kid made like $50 one day. I went to a private high school with a strict dress code, ties, belt, etc. So I bought a bunch of ties and belts from a thrift store and ran a lucrative rental business out of my locker. Apple laptops in middle school. Some had iTunes, some didn't, and the kids wanted it, so I apparently was the only one who knew how to transfer the installer with my USB. I put it on everyone's laptop for gifts, favors, etc. in return. Got caught by the sub that day. I told her it was my flash drive, I could do what I wanted with it. And that's how I got my second detention of my life. Edit. Gifts were typical middle schooler shit. Yu-Gi-Oh cards, fruit snacks, best food trades during lunch, gain in popularity and hang out with the cool people. Obviously they were taking advantage of me, but I didn't mind. Apart from the 20 minutes before the morning bell rang where everyone crowded around the front of the school being an open-air drug market, there were always dice tournaments. The rules were 2 people put down X amount of money on a game, then both people rolled 2 dice at the same time. Whoever got 7 or 11 first won the money. The winners of the first rounds would play each other for the amount of money they won in previous games. This went on until the bell rang, or it was broken up by teachers/school administrators. Things often continued in the afternoon after school let out. So many people got detention and suspended for repeat gambling. Looking back, it was hilariously stupid how much money was won and lost on a game of pure luck, and the sheer number of people who got in trouble for it. Yes, I was one of them. Banana chips were 25 cents in the vending machine in middle school. I always went to school early, so I always ended up buying all of them and selling them for 50 cents a bag. 2 years ago I was a sophomore in high school, and freshmen weren't allowed to go off campus but everyone else was. So I'd take orders, go to the local fast food shops, and get the goods. I'd up the price by about $2 and ended up making about $200 a month. Edit. $200 a month folks, not per year. I lived in an area with a lot of retiree age people, a lot of which ended up raising their grandchildren. It really isn't a good area. Being older and from a rural area they still don't trust online sites like eBay or Amazon. So I started ordering people things from those sites for actual money and added a charge for me to be making money off of it. It eventually got shut down because I got someone a USB in the shape of a pistol. It was the size of a USB and clearly a USB, but it didn't matter. The principal actually got the police involved to try to get me in real trouble. At my school they took all sweets out of the vending machines and replaced them with healthy snacks. In the local town there was a sweet shop where you could buy a kilo of mixed sweets for £5. So every week I would go there and buy 1 pound of small paper bags and spend the Sunday night before school repackaging them all ready for the week ahead. Come Monday I would go into school and load my bag up every day selling the bags for 50p. I was in elementary school when pogs were big. Everyone had cool slammers and stuff, but I didn't have money for good ones. My dad made one out of 1/2 inch mild steel for me and used an engraving pen to make a simple pattern. Everyone was asking me where I got them from. I didn't want to lose my unfair edge, but I also knew I could make money. My dad had a big sheet of this 1/2 inch steel. I told them I was the only one who could get them. I sold them for $15 a pop. My dad kept 10, I got 5. And that's when I learned what overhead was. Marbles were big at my primary school. Real big. It got to the stage where they were only allowed for 3 months a year as we would no longer discuss anything but the game we had other make we wanted to pay for. That was marble season. Now you could buy a big bag of cat's eyes from the supermarket, but they wouldn't get you far. To play the high stakes games, you needed a spect egg, a glitter bomb, a tidal wave or something exotic, but those suckers were pricey. Us poor kids couldn't afford those things, so we secretly gambled our marbles through the year so when marble season opened, we had amassed enough marbles to really be ahead of the game. Being caught with marbles outside of marble season was bad. Real bad. One kid got 5 strokes of the cane. This being so it was a big risk to hide in the shadows of the trees and sling those little glass balls about. Not only did it hone your skills for the season start, but you got good at taking the shot and then acting nonchalant. Marbles were currency. You could trade lunches with them or buy time on playground equipment. There was a good reason they banned marbles at my school. We turned it into some sort of mafia shit. I have family in New York and would go visit a couple times a year back in high school. Every once in a while we'd visit Chinatown and New York City, and I'd end up buying $100s worth of fake watches, Rolex, Tag, Guxi, etc. Return to school and sell them for double than what I paid for them.